ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि श्री गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। So Hare Krishna, dear devotees, dear Prabhujis. We are reading from the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, contents of the Gita summarized. And in our last session we read the 29th verse. Now we are reading the 30th verse, another very beautiful verse. So Lord Shri Krishna, he says, he continues, he says, Dehi nityam avadhyo ayam, dehe sarvasya bharata, tasmat sarvani bhutani, natvam sochitum arhasi. So very beautiful. Dehi nityam avadhyoyam dehe sarvasya bharata tasmat sarvani bhutani natvam sochitum arhasi. Dehi, the owner of the material body, nityam, eternally, avadhyaha, cannot be killed. Ayam, this soul, dehe, in the body, sarvasya, of everyone, bharata, O descendant of Bharat. Tasmat, therefore, sarvani, all, bhutani, living entities that are born, na, never, tvam, yourself, sochitum, to lament, arhasi, deserve. O descendant of Bharat, he who dwells in the body is eternal and can never be slain. Dehi. Therefore, you need not grieve for any creature. Dehe. O descendant of Bharat, he who dwells in the body. Dehi nityam avadhyo. Ayam dehe sarvasya bharata. Tasmat sarvani bhutani natvam sochitum arhasi. Therefore, you need not to grieve for any creature. So, in the purport, Swami Srila Prabhupada is explaining. The Lord now concludes the chapter of instruction on the immutable spirit soul. In describing the immortal soul in various ways, Lord Krishna establishes that soul is immortal and the body is temporary. Therefore, Arjuna as a Kshatriya should not abandon his duty out of fear that his grandfather and teacher, Bhishma and Drona, will die in the battle. On the authority of Sri Krishna, one has to believe that there is a soul different from the material body, not that there is no such thing as soul, or that living symptoms develop at a certain stage of material maturity resulting from the interaction of chemicals. Though the soul is immortal, violence is not encouraged, but at the time of war, it is not discouraged when there is actual need for it. That need must be justified in terms of the sanction of the Lord and not capriciously. So, very beautiful verse. Dehi nityam avadhyo ayam. Dehi, two different words. Deha and Dehi. In the material conception of life, we consider ourselves to be the body, Deha. I am this Deha, but Dehi, one who dwells in the body, or the owner of the body. Dehino asmin yatha dehe, Lord Shri Krishna used it previously also. So Dehi, Nityam, Nityam is eternal. Nityam Avadhyo, Avadhya, Vadhya, killing, Avadhyo. Dehi Nityam Avadhyo. It cannot be killed. Who cannot be killed? Dehi can be killed. Body can be killed, but Dehi, Dehe Sarvasya Bharata, of every living entity. Very important point. Of all the bodies, what dwells in the body, the soul, Dehi, the owner of the body, the possessor of the body, or one which dwells in the body, Dehe, that Dehi cannot be killed. The soul cannot be killed. And Tasmat Sarvani Bhutani. So you should not, Lord Shri Krishna is guiding Arjunji. Therefore, you need not grieve for any creature. O descendant of, and he is addressing Lord Arjunji again as Bharat, descendant of Bharat, Bharat Maharaj. So, O descendant of Bharat, he who dwells in the body is eternal and can never be slain. The living being, the actual living being, is Nityam and cannot be killed. He who dwells in the body is eternal, Nityam, and can never be slain. Therefore, you need not to grieve for any creature. And Swami Srila Prabhupada, he writes in the purport that so far Lord Shri Krishna, he explained so rationally, so logically, in a series of verses, the Supreme Authority, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, from whom everything has emanated. And He knows, who can know the science or truth of everything better than Lord Shri Krishna? Vande Krishnam Jagat Guru. So no one knows the reality or the absolute truth, the tattva, the science of everything better than Lord Shri Krishna. Because He is the creator. From Him everything emanates, primary creation, even in this material world. He is the creator not only of this material world, He is the creator of even spiritual world. Everything is His energy. And He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But as Swami Srila Prabhupada explained, it requires a lot of austerity and penance. And only by the mercy of a pure devotee one can understand this fact that Lord Shri Krishna is the Supreme Authority. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in this age, Kali Yuga, because the living entities are so fallen, it is not possible for us to do austerity and penances which were possible in other ages. Satyuga, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga, people were so austere. They used to go to forest. They used to go to Himalayas. For executing austerities and penances, just to understand about oneself, for self-realization, for God realization, for understanding the truth, for understanding the science, for understanding one's eternal existence. To know about the absolute truth, people used to do or execute so many austerities and penances in previous ages. But because we are so fallen in this age, the easiest austerity, chanting of the holy names of the Supreme Lord, as per the instruction of the Supreme Lord Himself, Lord Chaitanya, Lord incarnated as Lord Chaitanya, and He gave that easiest austerity of this age, and that too we are not able to execute. Simplest austerity, chanting the holy names of the Supreme Lord, trying to remember Him always. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And because we cannot do this austerity 24 hours a day, this simplest, so Swami Srila Prabhupada, okay, being very merciful, a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord, so He has regulated, He has prescribed like a good doctor. He gives prescription to the patients, so He has given prescription, okay, start chanting and try to chant or come to the stage of chanting at least 16 rounds every day, 2 hours for the Supreme Lord, and avoid very, very gross sinful activities. No meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication. Yam niyam. So niyam, chant every day, and yam, avoid all these things. And these activities, what Swami Srila Prabhupada has asked us to avoid, they are already nishedh karma. They are mentioned in the scriptures as prohibited activities, which leads to fall down. So chanting 16 rounds, at least 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra every day, and avoid meat eating, illicit sex, intoxication and gambling, avoiding these activities on a day-to-day basis. Slowly we can advance, or we can develop intelligence, transcendental intelligence, to understand about our own self, about the Supreme Self, about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, as Swami Srila Prabhupada he mentioned in the previous purport, that it can become possible only by the mercy of a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. So if we follow the instructions of Swami Srila Prabhupada, then we will be able to understand these concepts properly. So Swami Srila Prabhupada is saying that Lord Shri Krishna, after explaining so much about the immutable spirit soul, now he is concluding. He explained so much about the spirit soul, and his final conclusion is that Dehi Nityam Avadhyo. You cannot kill the living entity or the real being, the soul which dwells in the body by any means of any living entity. Dehe Sarvasya Bharata. So the soul is immortal while the body is temporary. Lord Sri Krishna, Swami Srila Prabhupada is writing. In describing the immortal soul in various ways, Lord Sri Krishna establishes that the soul is immortal and the body is temporary. So he establishes. This is the conclusion of the scriptures. This is the conclusion of all the Upanishads, Vedas, Puranas, and Lord Sri Krishna is, by a series of verses and explaining it very rationally and logically, the supreme authority, the supreme personality of Godhead, he himself is establishing this fact. And Swami Srila Prabhupada, he is requesting, because he is the well-wisher of every living entity, being a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord, he is as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And because the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Supreme Lord, is very, very compassionate towards every living entity, so in the same way, Swami Srila Prabhupada also, he is requesting in the purport, he is requesting all of us that we should accept the conclusion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, of Lord Sri Krishna. On the authority of Sri Krishna, one has to believe that there is a soul different from the material body. There is, while rejecting all other theories, man-made theories, because we are prone to commit mistakes, because we are subjected to illusion, because we have cheating propensity, we try to find evidences while experimenting. Also, we try to find evidences which support our belief. I believe this thing and I try to find. When I conduct experiment to establish the truth, I try to find evidences which support my belief. So we have that cheating tendency, vipralipsa. Pramad, Brahma, vipralipsa. Karna, Patva. And our perceptions, our senses are not transcendental. Our senses are not divine. We cannot see beyond matter. We cannot see spiritual things. We cannot perceive. What to speak of perceiving the spirit? We can only earth, water, fire, air. We cannot even see air. Earth, water, fire, air, ether. Then mind, intelligence and ego. These are all material elements. But we cannot even perceive, we cannot even see. Though we can understand about mind, intelligence and ego, but we cannot see them through our knowledge acquiring senses. Water is finer or subtle than earth. Fire is more subtle. Then air is more subtle. Then ether is subtler than air. Sky. Though we are seeing that there is a sky, but as such we cannot have very gross perception about the sky. Then mind, intelligence and ego, material mind, material intelligence and material ego, we cannot perceive them, we cannot see them. So the knowledge which is acquired only by our senses, pratyaksha praman, and the knowledge acquired By our material mind, intelligence, we cannot rely completely on that knowledge. Soul is even finer, soul and super soul is even finer, subtler than mind, intelligence and ego. So that's why Swami Srila Prabhupada, he is requesting in one way for our benefit. Because he is the well-wisher, he is a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. So like Supreme Lord, he is the friend and well-wisher. That's why he took so much pain. His whole life was dedicated for preaching the message of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, for spreading the glories of holy name. Across the world, his life was dedicated for that purpose, for benefiting others. So that's why Swami Srila Prabhupada is requesting, on the authority of Sri Krishna, one has to believe that there is a soul different from the material body, and not that there is no such thing as soul, or that living symptoms develop at a certain stage of material maturity resulting from the interaction of chemicals. So chemical evolution theory, Big Bang theory, and theories will keep coming, but we will not be able to prove those theories experimentally also. So speculation will go on. Somebody will propose some theory, then others will come with shortcomings of those theories. Then again theories will change. But one should believe that the life, the living symptoms, or the living being or soul which dwells in the body is very, very important. As in the previous verse also, we saw Ashyarevat. So it is very, very important, though it is very, very minute, but it is responsible for the consciousness in all the bodies, even big, big bodies, big, big animals, mammals. Their bodies are living just because of the presence of a very, very minute, a very subtle soul in that body. And if that soul leaves that body, the body is immediately dead. The body is immediately dead. So that's why Swami Srila Prabhupada, he is requesting, and Lord Shri Krishna will also request in the forthcoming verses that if out of ahankara one do not accept these instructions, if out of false ego, then he is surely committing mistake. So it is good for us, and Swami Srila Prabhupada is saying that we should actually accept that there is soul which is beyond body and it cannot be killed. And so rationally Lord Sri Krishna, so logically, he explained in the previous verses through a series of verses, and Swami Srila Prabhupada also gave so many references in the purports from various other scriptures, Upanishads, Puranas, establishing the fact that whatever Lord Sri Krishna is speaking is the conclusion of all the Vedic literatures and scriptures. Though the soul is immortal, Violence is not encouraged, but at the time of war, it is not discouraged. So if somebody thinks that the soul is, one cannot kill anybody, so there is a liberty. That means that I can kill anyone's body because I am not killing the soul. So how I will be sinful in killing any body? No, that is also because the soul is immortal. So violence and war, these things are not encouraged. Ma hinsayat, as we saw in the previous purports. Ma hinsayat sarvabhutani. The Vedic wisdom is that or the Vedic instruction is that one should not hurt anyone's body. Even subtle, one should not do hinsa, even to the subtle body, mind, intelligence, and ego. One should always try to give happiness, but in a religious way to others. So, ma himsayat, one should never commit violence to others. But at the same time, Swami Srila Prabhupada is saying, when there is war, then violence is also, at that time, violence is not discouraged. If there is a justified war, but the war should be justified, as Swami Srila Prabhupada wrote in the purport, the decision of the war of Kurukshetra, was the decision of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It was not a capricious decision made by Arjunji or Pandavas, because Duryodhanji was adamant and all other options were tried by the Supreme Lord and others, peace negotiations and all other options, Sam, Dam. But since Duryodhanji and their party was adamant to fight, so for the re-establishment of religious principles and for punishing Duryodhanji and his party, punishing the miscreants, Lord Shri Krishna took a decision. Finally he took a decision. Antataha, when there was no other option available. So violence and war, they are chosen only when there is no other option. Not whimsically or capriciously, as Swami Srila Prabhupada mentioned. It should be justified. In the previous ages, the administrators, the rulers, they were accompanied by so many brahmanas, because the administrators, the rulers, the kshatriyas, they are very passionate in nature. And there are chances that they can act as per their whims, whimsically, capriciously. That's why administrators, rulers were always accompanied by many brahmanas to guide them. Many brahmanas, priests, who were well versed in Vedic literatures and who used to give them proper guidance and direction and instruction according to the Vedic literature, because war should be justified and should be only for as Swami Srila Prabhupada, though the soul is immortal, violence is not encouraged, but at the same time war is not discouraged when there is an actual need for it. The need must be justified in terms of the sanction of the Lord. The need must be justified in terms of the sanction of the Supreme Lord. So the directions and instructions of the Vedas are actually the directions and instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Supreme Lord. That's why the administrators, Kshatriyas, they were accompanied by so many priests, Brahmanas, who were all well versed in the scriptures and Vedas and were capable to give proper instructions and directions as per the guidelines in the scriptures, and the kings used to act as per their instructions. So, very beautiful verse. Dehi Nityam, that which dwells in the body is eternal and can never be slain. Dehi Nityam avadhyo ayam dehe sarvasya bharata tasmat sarvani bhutani natvam sochitum arhasi. So wonderful verse and wonderful purport by Swami Srila Prabhupada. With this I would like to stop here, and we'll take up another verse in our next session, and through the purports of Swami Srila Prabhupada we will try to understand the meaning and the concepts in the verse. So with this I would like to stop here. जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तरशत श्री श्रीमती शिवानंद सभा चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद जी की जय. All glories to His Divine Grace, Krishna Kripa Murti, Abhay Charnarvind, Bhakti Vedanta, Swami Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Bhagavad Gita. All glories to Lord Shri Krishna. All glories to Lord Chaitanya. All glories to Holy Name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur, Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.